former teacher turned Pinterest manager turned paid ad strategist and agency owner. So that's kind of my quick journey in a nutshell. I love connecting with teachers, as I said, and supporting teachers. I've worked with dozens of teachers since I left the classroom, and it's really, truly one of my favorite ways to stay connected to that world is supporting educators, curriculum companies. I work with a statewide professional development company as well. Just in that education world, it is the dream for me. So also I get to educate other adults in ways like this, which is super fun. So today we're diving into a Pinterest ad strategy, combining my two loves, Pinterest marketing and paid ads. I do run paid ads on Meta and Google as well, but Pinterest is where it all started for me. And Pinterest is absolutely the place to be as a teacher seller. So that's always kind of the direction I go when talking about ads for teachers. If you're here at this presentation, it's likely that you are selling on TpT and your website, of course. I'm assuming at this point you're probably blogging and or hopefully building an email list, which we'll talk about. Assuming that this upcoming year and seasons ahead, you're going to be launching some new products, of course, selling all the products you have. Assuming that some of you are active on other platforms, you may be in a place where you feel like you're kind of itching to grow in other ways besides maybe Instagram organic. And I say that not at all to knock Instagram, of course, but just to say that sometimes the kind of standard places where we should be showing up as business owners, in my opinion, Instagram is like shoved down our throats, like everyone should be there all the time, right? But that's actually, in my opinion, a starting point of where you're going to be growing your business. Yes, you should be in multiple platforms, as I'm sure any other marketing professional would tell you, but this strategy today that I'm going to dive into is like a level up. It's a big picture thinking strategy. And that's where some of you are probably at mentally is like, I want to grow beyond where I started my business at. I'm curious if anyone here has ever run Pinterest ads for their business. So if you have, would you type in the chat for us or raise your hand or whatever you want to do to just tell us, yes, you have. You don't have to say if you haven't, but a few of us, it looks like Chris has. Super cool. If you have, go ahead and type it in there and I'll come back and note it if we have. But I was assuming probably not because it's not necessarily where people tend to dive in on their own. So you may be wondering if Pinterest ads are worth it for your business. So in my session today, my goal is, of course, ultimately to teach you this big picture strategy, but really breaking down like when do Pinterest ads make sense for your business, for a teacher business? What I personally would never spend a dollar doing on Pinterest ads, so what to avoid. The strategy that I use behind all of my highest performing ad campaigns for teachers specifically, and ultimately how to use one season, whether it be back to school, which is of course coming right around the corner, or a different season in the year, but how to use one season of Pinterest ads to really explode your business and be able to sell and reap those benefits for years to come. It looks like Cheryl said that she's run ads as well on Pinterest. That's awesome. Has anyone run ads just not on Pinterest? Maybe on Meta? Anyone want to type in the chat and share that? Maybe even Google? I doubt it. Google ads tend to be way less common with my teacher sellers. So Chris says Meta and Google too as well. Cool. Okay, so kind of going along with that, I would actually love for you to give me a rating of your understanding on a couple of terms because I can really tailor our conversation way more beginner friendly or way more advanced or somewhere in the middle if we need to. So I'm going to show you 4 terms that are going to be pretty important for our conversation today. Can you give me a number of 1 through 5? 1 being like, I've never even heard of this. No shame at all. 5 being like, I know this so well, I could teach about it to other people or anywhere on that spectrum. The first is the term funnel, like a business funnel. Give me a number 1 through 5 in the chat, please, on how well you feel like you know that term for business. Okay, 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s. Thank you for sharing. That's helpful. No 1s, I notice, which means Chris is doing a wonderful job, right? We all need to know that word. Opt-in form. Can you give me a rating of 1 through 5, please? 3s, 4s, and 5s. Awesome. Wonderful. That means you likely have an email list, you likely have some forms, you likely are utilizing that as a pillar in your business. That is going to be one of the pieces that is a nice puzzle piece in this foundational structure that I'm going to share with you today. Next one goes right along with that, a nurture sequence. Give me a rating of 1 through 5, please. You may even think of like a sales sequence or like a delivery sequence, twos, threes, fours, and fives as well. Last one, conversion rate. This can be for like a sales conversion, or we're actually going to talk about it for opt-in conversion rate as well. So I'm seeing threes, lots of fours and fives. Awesome, guys. Thank you. That gives me some information. So we're gonna skip the super beginner friendly talk and we're gonna dive into really how you can start to utilize this if it's something that you want to expand into. So part of the session title here is the Pinterest ad strategy for compounding growth. And that's really where we take our business to a further level, to a more of a level of depth and expansion rather than that feeling of like, I'm on the hamster wheel, I'm on the hamster wheel. Okay, I'm always creating content, or I'm always trying to sell again, or I'm always trying new strategies again. I think every one of us have felt that in our business, me included, especially early on, where you're kind of just hustling and trying to stay afloat. This type of a strategy is for when you really want to stop struggling to stay afloat and build what you need longer term as more of a mental investment, a financial investment, energy, all of that. So I'd love to hear from you, and then I have some answers here. What does compounding growth mean to you? If you would be so kind as to put a word in the chat for me, if you have one, it comes to mind. When I say compounding growth in your business, do you have anything that comes to mind? These are a few more terms I'm going to pop up here that I've heard or I've shared with others. So sustainable. I feel like that's a buzzword in today's day of like sustainable marketing. Like I want to get off the hustle. I want to stop grinding. I agree with that, but you need the system to catch you if you want to just suddenly stop hustling, in my opinion. So this is a way that we do that is we build this system once, or if you want to do it more than once, that's great too. And then we reap the benefits long term. So long term, there we go. It's the big picture vision. It's probably not in your first 6 months or year and a half of your business that you're looking to build a strategy like this. It's usually a couple years in when you have more like emotional and financial maturity in your business. It's an investment, time, money, energy, all the things. But it is that exponential growth. So I love that someone mentioned that too. It's just a quick visual for you. So here's what we're going to cover. First, some of the math behind this, which may be familiar to some of you. Some real examples of my clients that have utilized this framework. The mental or mindset reframe that I like to propose that may be new, but honestly, it sounds like probably not in this community. It sounds like you guys are already really familiar with some of this and just kind of rearing to go. The requirements, like literally, what will you need to utilize this system if you want to go get running today. And then some ways that I can support you through it with some next steps, a Q&A session, of course, ask me whatever you want. Okay. So the math that kind of makes this, in my opinion, a reality, it kind of brings it, grounds it down into like, what are we even talking about here? So before I show you some numbers, of course, we're selling, right? So we understand we're selling. We have a lot of ways that we can be discovered online. We have a lot of ways that we can nurture or build trust and relationships with our customers or our audience, people who want to follow us on social media or whatever it may be, find your freebies online, whatever. We have a lot of ways we can do that. And ideally, in your business, you have multiple funnels. We are going to be talking about funnels today, and this would be one strong funnel. I don't recommend that this is like you drop everything, abandon everything else, and do this. I'm never going to say that's the answer, but this is a more advanced way to build up that sustainability in your marketing. So let's look at some numbers here. Here's what I don't want you to ever think or feel or face when you go out and you hear maybe someone else talking about ads, or you just want to explore it on your own, whether it be Pinterest or somewhere else. I want to clear up a couple misconceptions. So scenario A is actually a very true reality, but I will tell you why it is not the ideal scenario. Let's say that you are like, okay, I'm going to launch an ad today. I'm going to pick a product and I'm going to launch a Pinterest ad just for the sake of this Pinterest, and I'm going to choose a sales campaign. A sales campaign is when you choose a product to showcase and you create your ad for it, you have your image, and people buy it straight from your ad. When they see your ad, they click it, they go straight to a checkout page, and they can choose to buy it or they can choose to click out and leave. Let's say in scenario A, you're running that type of an ad, and 10,000 people see your product ad. Like 10,000 people get to your checkout page. The math would suggest that on average, only around 150, maybe 200, 250 people are actually going to buy that product because of the standard conversion rates. 1.5, 2, 2.5 is actually kind of high percent. With cold traffic, I'm seeing way more like 1.5, like 1.2% conversion rate. So people buying on a product that is cold traffic, people who don't know you, never met you, and you're showing your product. And I think the misconception, and I've actually heard people say it to me this way, so I really want to be clear and clear it up for you, is people will say, well, okay, people like my products, people buy, my TpT store says I have a 5% conversion rate. So what if I 20x my traffic? Shouldn't I just expect to sell 5% at that significantly higher rate? No, I would definitely argue with what I've seen that you cannot extrapolate that expectation out, especially with cold traffic. Now, if you could suddenly multiply your audience and be nurturing them a bit more and then really multiply the volume to a page, that's a different conversation. But just straight up cold traffic, launching an ad and just showing your ad to hundreds of thousands of new people, cold random people, I would not feel comfortable or safe spending my money that way when I know there's a way safer, better, less risky way that still produces so much longer term and sustainable results. So let's go back to scenario A and say, okay, let's say you do that. 150 people buy from you, awesome. You made some quick money, great. Hopefully you made a profit on that ad. But the reality is then, okay, you've got 150 people now who are your customers. Those are your people. Now, this is just for this funnel. Those 150 people, you have their contact information. You're ideally following up with them through all of your email nurturing, your email marketing strategies. Hopefully, you're prompting them to like follow you on social media, right? You're keeping them alive in your ecosystem, your world. Well, that is such a small amount of people, even though they are already your customers. I want to show you just a different way to think about running ads. Instead of a product ad, what I specialize in and my agency specializes in is lead generation. And I'm going to show you why it's much more profitable in the long run. Because in scenario A, you might have made that quick sale for back to school, but what happens when Halloween comes around? You're going to do it again? Sure, maybe if you made good money from it. You're going to do it again at Thanksgiving, again at the new semester turn. Some businesses do like to do that, but you're asking yourself to start over often. And here's an alternative to that. In scenario B, let's say 10,000 people see a lead generation ad, and I'll tell you all about what that looks like. So stay with me for now. They see your lead generation ad, which is actually in the ad world, it's a completely different type of campaign. You're telling Pinterest to go out and find different types of people. For a product ad, you're telling it to go find buyers. That's expensive. For a lead gen ad, you're telling it to buy or to find people who are willing to opt in a conversion, but not a sales conversion, a free conversion, like a sign up, an email sign up. So statistics show us, and this is very common across what I see in all my client accounts, is that around 3,000 people would opt in if you had 10,000 see your landing page for your free lead magnet, because a 30% opt-in rate is very normal for a free resource. Now, quick pause. Can you type in the chat a yes if you've ever heard of using a lead magnet to get email subscribers? If you've ever heard of it or if you've been doing it yourself, I'm assuming yes. Yeah, I'm seeing lots of yeses. Okay. Wonderful. Just making sure that was clear. So and I want to share some tips on lead magnets as well. But the point is, really squeezing the opportunity out of what you're willing to spend in your ad dollars and seeing what the return can look like. So let's say that healthy 30% of people opt in. I've seen up to 40%, so that'd be 4,000 people. They've opted in to receive your freebie. Now, the plan is we don't just stop there. You are preparing to have a nurture sequence or a sales type of sequence to try to sell them something because they just opted into something for free, whether it was a guide or a bundle of free resources like a mini course, whatever it is, that hopefully aligns to what you're ultimately selling in your stores, or if you're coaches or have memberships. I've worked with teachers that have all of those, and so I've seen that across businesses. Ideally, you just got 3,000 people on your list who maybe 1 to 2 to 3% of them will now buy from you instantly. So yes, it's less people instantly, but looking at the long term, and it might not even have to be, depending on, everyone's so different, what you're selling may really align with those people. You might get 10% of people to buy. But going with kind of the conservative rates, what we're expecting is then you've got those 3,000 people who opted in to get your free resource, and maybe some of them have bought from you. You've got those people now who have chosen to stick around in your world on your list, and you now do not have to start over when you're trying to sell in future anything, holidays, seasons, anytime you make a new product that you want to try to sell, if you want to promote a certain bundle at a certain time of year. The point is that you are stretching your ad dollars to grow the number of people who are wanting to be in your world. Now, we're going to kind of reference some of these numbers again later, but one thing I want to address right now is I think maybe one or two of you might be like, listen, I would just rather take those 150 sales from scenario A, and like, what if I have a $100 bundle? What if I get 150 sales on a $100 bundle and I can just make that quick 15K? In the ad world, you have to spend 3 to 5 times more money every single day than your product costs to expect healthy results. I am not willing to spend $300 a day on my ads. Big companies do all the time, but it's not like you can launch a $15 a day ad and say, here, go sell my $100 bundle. That will not work. And I want to be super clear that there's a lot of factors at play, but just for the kind of like risk analysis, it is best practice to say the very, very minimum double, but I always say 3 to 5 times more ad spend every day than your product costs. So that's why it's not as easy, because it's very expensive to buy customers on ads on any platform. It's not a good idea to just take one of your expensive bundles, let's call it a $250 bundle, and try to run a sales campaign. I would never, ever recommend I do that for a client unless they had like a 2K a day ad spend budget, which big companies do, but that's not where we're all at. So I just want to make that very clear why that is not a good scenario, especially for someone who's newly dabbling in ads. Okay. Does anyone have any questions on that so far? We're going to go through a lot more, but sometimes that's the point where people are like, what? I want to talk about that. Anything specifically about that? Okay. If so, type it in the chat. We'll come back to it, but I'm going to keep going. So I want to show you some real examples of how I utilize a Pinterest lead generation campaign strategy where we can really hyper focus our ads into a season. Back to school season tends to be a big one because we know it's a big season, but I run ads at every season of the year for teachers, even summer. I just wrapped up a summer campaign for a teacher. I'll show you one of the examples. And it was a like summer reading challenge type of campaign. And she ended up tripling the size of her email list, even during the summer. Back to school, of course, is going to be your big one, but literally every holiday, all the way through, even like months, like Black History Month, and things like that, we are testing this and seeing healthy, consistent results. So I think that's the best kind of ease point, is like back to school is a big one, but it is not your only chance by any means. I'll show you 3 different examples here. So for most teachers, most teacher sellers, most business owners, honestly, they're not willing to spend that like 10, 20, 30K on ads. They're willing to spend a few hundred, maybe 1,000, maybe 1,500 or so on the ads, on the lead gen ads to really see the big vision, the big long-term picture of I'm going to be buying email subscribers, people who want to learn from me, people who really want to stick around. They want to open my emails. They're excited to see my name pop up in their inbox. There are so many people out there who are that perfect fit for you. And so my job as an ad strategist is to connect you with those people through strategic lead gen campaigns. So this is one teacher. She's actually a TpT seller, but she also is a course creator and a coach. And so, like I said, if you're falling outside that box of like just only digital products, if you have some other things, honestly, you're kind of even at a little bit more of an advantage because you have more things that people might want to buy. But of course, there's more nuance with that, lots more messaging that has to come into play. So, there's just more possibility. But for prior, she wanted to experiment during back to school season. She already had a beautifully thriving, healthy business, but it was her first time wanting to dabble in ads. So we spent $1,287 during a less than 30 days, it was like 28 days of back to school season. And she gained 1,577 email subscribers, which had grown her list by 24%. That was already successful. That was our goal, was to get inexpensive, yet qualified and aligned types of email subscribers. So we were already happy back in August. But what happens, the long-term exponential growth part is, okay, then comes Halloween and fall and Christmas and all the things, all the rest of the school year, all through the summer. All of those people were in her audience to open all her emails, click on her email links, which she has beautiful open and click rates. So she knew that was a good idea for her to grow that list, to buy her digital products right through email, right then and there, but also buy some of her bigger bundles because she really grows her curriculum listings throughout the year. And she really showcases, like, for her, she's a very niche, like specialist teacher, and her curriculum bundles sell really well to the people who need that because it's very niche. Um, and like I said, she has courses and she's a coach as well. So she was getting people into her courses and her programs. Her enrollments were up because we had flooded her email list with a new group of people who were choosing to stick around and be in her world. And it paid off all year long, still today. Obviously, it's only a year later. This was last year. They are still actively engaging and buying from her. Another example is a teacher seller, Anne. She had spent, I like her story a lot because I think it's so relatable. I mentioned that hamster wheel of just pushing, just grinding. And we all have that in our early days. Hopefully, some of you are kind of getting out of that now and you're thinking, whew, back then that was tough, right? Maybe some of you are still feeling that pressure. I know I am in different ways too when I grow my business. But Anne came to me and she was like, I've had my website and my blog and my email list for a couple of years. I have an Instagram. I have this and that here and there. I'm trying the things. I'm taking the courses. She had spent over 2 years, like 2.5 years, just grinding to get around 300 email subscribers, which is not really bad. Like that's kind of, one would probably say, normal, right? Just typical organic growth, very slow and steady. But she felt like the output that she was giving to get that amount was just exhausting her. So she was like, I'm ready to try ads. Let's see how it goes. Well, just launching ads is not the answer. We built her entire funnel. We built pages and lead magnets, sequences, all the things I'll share about later of how I help you build these things. We built it all. And she spent $730. She gained 795 subscribers in less than 6 weeks. So it took her over 2 years to get to 300 subscribers. We tripled her size. We almost quadrupled it because she ended up getting to almost 1,200 in total from less than 6 weeks and just a little bit of her time by creating a lead magnet that was valuable for her audience. And that was during summer. So I would love to see how she does here during back to school season. So she's now heading into this next school year with over 1,000 people that are opting in to be in her world, and they're going to buy from her. One more quick example, and then I'll really get into how this works and I'll show you like what to do. Um, a curriculum company that I work with as well. We this is a good example because we do run ads every season and every holiday. Like I think Christmas was the only one that we didn't actually do because they noticed such a significant dip in teacher user like usability on their website at Christmas that they were like, let's just skip that one. But you definitely could still do a Christmas campaign. So we do like even from back to school all through the school year, Earth Day, Black History Month, all the things. And what I like to point out with this company is that no matter the holiday or the season, we really are seeing pretty consistent results. Yes, there's some that are slightly better or slightly less as far as the cost per lead. They are promoting a membership to their site, so obviously that's a bigger commitment than just downloading a freebie and then you can unsubscribe from the list if you want. But this company has spent over $8,000 in the past year, school year, and we've gotten them almost 3,000 new memberships at just under $3 per new membership, not just during one season, all across the whole entire school year. So yes, back to school is going to be so big, but I don't want you to think that if it passes that you've lost your opportunity. Okay. So the theme here is build it once, sell for years, meaning you can literally run ads for 30 days, like my client prior did, and gain hundreds, maybe over 1,000. She gained 1,500 subscribers who are in your world, excited to learn from you, clicking on links, reading your blog posts, buying your products, opting into more things, really becoming cheerleaders for you and your business and customers, most importantly. And you're going to be able to sell for years to that same audience. But it is not as easy as just launching an ad, which if you know how to run ads, I'm sure you've been trained on a lot of this stuff, but especially for my people who it would be your first time running ads, the ad, I actually have a free training on this. I should have linked it for you guys somewhere, but I'll send it to Chris maybe. Your ads are just the tip of the iceberg. I have a training all about what actually comes underneath, which I'll share with you right now a little bit more because it pertains to what we're learning about. But the system is like, how are you going to get discovered? That's your ad. And that's where the ad really stops. Where are they opting in and why? And is it relevant? And are they going to like it? And what's the conversion rate? And is it aligned to what you're selling? How are you going to nurture them? Typically email. But I have clients who don't use email and they still have great results too. But typically it's email. How often? How are you optimizing your nurture situation? Like, are you using different strategies for email as well? Are you tracking things? Are you making sure that those rates are healthy? And then how are you making sales, the conversion? The fifth stage that I teach about is ascension and retention, which would be getting them to buy bigger and more expensive things or longer term packages, or if it's a course or something like that. So, really, this is a funnel. That's why I asked you if you knew what funnel was, of course. But I really want you to understand that the ad portion, no matter what platform you're on, it is just the discovery phase. So launching an ad, but having nothing prepared to catch what happens after the ad, to catch the new traffic, is setting yourself up for failure. So that's why my agency specializes in the full funnel lead gen process, because I can't tell you how many clients come to us saying, I've wasted thousands, ads just don't work for me. And we check it out and they've done an ad, but this is all missing. And really, this is where the money is at. Now, if you are already using email marketing, I would be curious. So I hope we can, open up the discussion here in a little bit at the end, talk about like that part is so crucial. And if you already have email marketing in place and you use that to make sales, not just to have it and to stay in touch with people, I would hope that you understand that like you own that. It is an asset in your business. It's an investment. All your time and energy and money that you put on into your email strategy is a long-term rewarding asset for you. And so my job, and when I support people with ads like lead generation, is to really grow that asset, which rewards you long term. We'll come back to some conversations about that. So a reframe, a mindset reframe that's very helpful here is instead of thinking once August comes around here, how can I sell the most amount of products in August? Which I still want you to be doing, of course. But instead of only fixating on that and thinking like, oh, well, maybe I can just launch a sales campaign. Maybe I'll pick out a product and I'll just throw some ad dollars behind it. I would not recommend that. It's not a quick fix, and it really doesn't even work to do it that way, as I said earlier. What I definitely never want you to do is run an ad to get traffic or clicks to your shop as a whole, like just sending them to your broad shop, because that is pretty much a guarantee to waste your money. You may get a fluky couple of sales, but that is just not a good use of your ad dollars when there are so many situations that are much more lucrative for you. So instead of thinking like right now in this back to school, how can I sell, 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 sell? I want you to also try to think, how can I build an audience that wants to stick around during August, during back to school season, but how can I build the most and get the most bang for my buck in building my audience who wants to learn from me and open my emails and click my blog posts and opt into my other freebies that I make in January? Like, who are those people going to be and how are you going to get them into your world? Yes, you can do it organically for a few years, but the ads are just the shortcut, to be honest. And if it's done well, then you get your shortcut really quickly, and then you've got a few thousand people who are now in your audience, in your bleachers. So let's get into the technicalities. Like, if any of you are thinking, okay, stop talking, this sounds great, let's go. Like, you've said enough. What do you literally need to make this a reality? I want to walk you through the funnel pieces and tell you technically what you need and give you some tips. First and foremost, to do this successfully, you do need a website. You technically can run an ad to a TpT link. You can. I don't do that. If that's your only option, you're like, I really want to do this, but like I just don't have my own website, ask me some questions at the end because I would love to help you like navigate through that. But ideally, you've got a website. If you're going to run Pinterest ads, you need a Pinterest business account. I'm curious, type in the chat for me. Does anyone have a Pinterest business account for their shop or their business? Does anyone use Pinterest organically? Yes, 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 yes. Okay, probably why you're here, right? Expanding, expanding your knowledge on Pinterest a bit. Lovely. So you've got your Pinterest business account. That's great. Denise says, yeah, I don't really use it though. Yeah, okay, great. You've got it. Oh, that's actually a really good point I want to mention that you just made me think of. You actually don't have to pin organically in order to run ads on Pinterest. Um, I recommend you have a handful of pins, but you can run ads. I actually do run ads for a company where they really just have the ads, and the ads do their job when they're on and you turn them off and then nothing else really happens, right? Organically, you know that all compounds as well, just your efforts organically. And I will say my clients who I can see their revenue coming from Pinterest, obviously, as a Pinterest manager, and their ad strategist. I'm not sure if anyone who's run ads before has known this, but you can see which amount of revenue has come from an ad pin and your organic pins, and then revenue that has come from people who saw both ads and organic. And you can see the three different columns of revenue. When I run ads for clients on teachers' clients on Pinterest, the ones who are making the most money have that organic piece backing them up. So they're making money from ads alone, they're making money from organic, and they're making money from the people who see both in their feed. So I have every reason to believe that it's beneficial to have both, but it's technically not a necessity to have organic pins or an organic strategy on your account. Okay, you'll need an email marketing platform. If you don't have one or you have been kind of avoiding it, just know that MailerLite is an option where you have up to 500 subscribers for free. If that's something that's been holding you back, maybe, and you're like, I just don't really know if I want to pay for a platform. That's what I started with, and then I just ended up upgrading to Flowdesk because I liked it. But you can certainly use that. I have actually a client who uses this because they have significantly less leads because they have a school program. It's a cyber program. So they have like a couple of hundred leads at once, not thousands, like a email list, like seller would have. So anyways, it works well. You will need a place where you sell your products, obviously. Ideally, you have, actually, for this type of ad, it really doesn't matter. If you're going to run a lead gen campaign like this, you're not selling in your ad. You're giving away a lead magnet for free, getting them on your email list, nurturing them to buy. So wherever you're linking to, wherever your products are listed, it really doesn't matter. If you were going to run a sales campaign, I would say you need to be selling on your website, ideally. You technically can run an ad to TPT. Again, I don't do it. I don't want to risk my clients' dollars doing it. I don't know if anyone's ever had success doing that. Ad to TPT. I don't risk doing that. But if you had like a $5 product that you wanted to, do a $15 a day sales campaign for and start to turn a profit on that, you'd want to have it on your website. Ideally, you have Google Analytics set up for your website for tracking, although it's not 100% necessary. But to get really granular with some of the tracking, I would certainly recommend it. It's free and you just follow the directions to set it up if you've never done that before. And let's talk about lead magnets because you do want to have a high value, highly relevant lead magnet. So when I'm working with teachers, our first question is not just like, what can we give away for free? What's something that somebody will want for free? It's what do you sell? What is your main thing that you sell? Your topic, your niche, your categories, and what can you give away as a tasty appetizer that's going to make people want that bigger thing? It's not just let me grab 10 random worksheets, which, I don't mean to sound insulting by saying that. I'm assuming that some of you are already kind of like brainstorming some lead magnets if you don't already have some in your business. And I just want to be super clear that it's not as easy as just picking something and giving it for free. There's a lot of strategy to it. And this is something that I support my clients through and test because you might not actually pick the right thing the first time around. Testing is okay. Testing is part of the process too. If you do have lead magnets in place, this is usually what I do with my clients is we'll hop right into their email marketing platform together. And I'll say, let's pull up all your lead magnets, all your forms, if you have more than one, and let's look at the conversion rates and decide if the one that has the highest conversion rate would make sense to run ads through, right? Like pull up the lead magnet that seems to already work so super well organically and decide if that would make sense to run ads to get email subscribers. And usually it does. A couple more things that you need. Technically, you do need to have your domain claimed on Pinterest. If you're already using it, I'm assuming you do. You're going to need your domain claimed in your email marketing platform as well to get that like checked off the list for credibility. And you need your Pinterest tag installed on your website. So this is something that you probably don't have unless you've run ads. Your Pinterest tag is what is the tracking piece. It's like the meta pixel, if you know meta ads, where it's just the tracking, it's the communication that talks between Pinterest and your website, and it sends the data back and forth. Honestly, if you walk away from here and you think, I'm just going to stick with organic Pinterest, I don't think I really want to run ads. I just want to keep Pinterest in my wheelhouse though, you might as well go install your Pinterest tag. Even if you don't think that you're going to run ads, you might change your mind in a year or 2 years down the road. And what your Pinterest tag does is it just collects all the information about who really visits your website, not just the number of outbound clicks like you see organically. But your Pinterest tag is talking back and forth to Pinterest and your website. And it's like retroactive. So in 6 months, if you decide to run an ad, you can pull up your tracking and your Pinterest tag inside your Pinterest account and say, show my ad to people who've gone to my website over the last 6 months, which you could not do on day one if you had just installed your Pinterest tag. So it's easy. You just put it in the same place as your domain claiming code. If you have questions on that, definitely let me know. But if nothing else, you might as well start tracking your page visitors. And then for an ad, of course, you do need it. Now, ad spend. Here's the thing. For a true lead generation campaign, I tell my clients not to go below $15 a day in ad spend. So many of them end up spending more like $20, $30, $40, $50, $80 a day in ad spend because once you start at 20, you see how well it's going. Usually you're increasing your budget. You're trying to like squeeze that opportunity out, right? I never, ever have people who start big and dwindle their ad budget. That doesn't really make a lot of sense either, but I never have people who say, let's try 50 and then they end up cutting it. Um, so if you're new to this and you're thinking you want to try this, $15 a day is a good place to just kind of healthily expect to be spending. Although I do recommend if it's brand new to you, starting with a little bit of a lower lift type of campaign, like a traffic campaign or consideration campaign for like $5 or $10 a day, just to kind of wet your feet, get some traffic going, get your pixel firing. And then the lead generation campaign is $15 a day minimum. I wouldn't go lower than that. And you're looking at probably 30 days or so of at least that. Again, if you're thinking like, I'm going to utilize this season, whether it's now or it's Halloween or it's next Earth Day, kind of preparing like when is this going to run for? Usually 4 to 6 weeks. Although I have some Pinterest ads for teachers that we run for about 8 weeks. If it's seasonal, then it kind of starts to dwindle if you've gone past 8 weeks, right? So usually 4 to 6 if it's like a true seasonal campaign, but evergreen can go longer. Okay, and then this is obviously crucial. You need to have the ability to analyze what is working and what is not working. And this is where beginners really struggle, and then they blame ads. And then they say, well, ads didn't work for me. I have seen this over and over again. The ads actually were beautifully fine in this scenario, and everything that came after the ad was unfortunately broken or missing. And that's what the problem was, typically. That's what I'm seeing. So I have 2 ways that I can support you through this. We'll talk about that soon. But just to understand that like ads are never set it and forget it, ever. Okay, I do want to give you this for free, so I'm going to make sure the link, I'll paste the link in here and I'll make sure that Chris has the link. This is one of the ways I can support you for free. So this is my funnel mapping workbook. I'm going to show you a couple of the pages here, just like in my presentation. If you're thinking like, okay, I want to dive into this, but I'm also very overwhelmed and there's just so much to think about, this is a tool that I actually use in my ads mastermind, which I'm going to share about as well. But this is like a foundational piece. We work on this in week 1, we pull it back up in week 3, 5, 10. Like this is a pillar. I want to give it to you for free, so I'll have the link in there later. But it is something that you can also use for organic if you're just building funnels for organic, but certainly for ads. There's a lot of good pages in here. Here's 2 for an example. I work through, like I gave you a filled out example of those stages. So I talked about the funnel of discovery, which is your ad, opt-in, which is your lead magnet, nurture, which comes your email sequences or whatever else you fill in there, conversion, which is the sale, and the optional 5th stage of like ascension, retention. How are you moving people to bigger packages? I gave a filled out example, and I also have a few blank pages in there for you to map what makes sense for your business. And then there's a couple other good pages in there in between, but there's also a checklist because especially as a beginner to this sort of a strategy, you're likely going to find some gaps. I'm assuming, right? Because if you haven't really planned this on purpose yet, you're likely going to find some places that need some more work. And there's a couple of checklist pages that really guide you to find those gaps. Before running an ad, the biggest and most helpful thing you can do is fill all the gaps in your funnel, close up all the leaks, the leaky points in your funnel, meaning moving somebody from discovering you as a stranger to buying from you. There's also some reflection prompts in there. So if nothing else, this is just very helpful for funnel mapping with organic. Okay. Almost done to the Q&A session. Just 2 ways that I can support you through this if this is what you want to do for your business. So of course, we know back to school season will be here before we know it. I have a Pinterest ad sprint for teachers only for back to school season that I'm offering at 40% off right now, only through July 20th though. It's a 6-week sprint. So when you sign up, it's a 6-week sprint from there. This is completely done for you. So done for you strategy, setup, management, optimization, all the things. You will guaranteed get 500 new leads. If you don't have 500 by the time our campaign is up at 6 weeks, I'll keep managing your campaign for free until you hit 500 subscribers. I have never had someone go below 500. Like that is easy work for us. especially during back to school season. Okay. But just as like an extra precaution, I want to put that in as a guarantee. I only have 4 spots available. One's already been snagged up for this. And it's 40% off through July 20th. So that way, if you book on July 20th at the latest date, then that gives us a good 7 days to get your ads live because July 27th is the last day that I will ever launch a Pinterest ad for back to school for this year. I'm really hoping that I kind of um, have put into your mind like the possibility of back to school season, but what you cannot do is wait till August. Pinterest ads take longer to work than Meta. If you're used to Meta, you can launch a quick 7 day campaign and call it quits. Not on Pinterest, at least not really the way that we're doing it with lead generation. So I will not launch ads for teachers past July 27th of this year. So my sprint sign up date deadline is July 20th. I'll make sure you have the link to this if you want it. And then one more way, kind of bigger picture that I can support you is through my ads mastermind. So if any of this was interesting to you, but you are like, no, I can't do any of this without some support. This is a lot. I love supporting people through ads. I've got a great, wonderful group of ladies in my current cohort right now. It's a 12-week program with live weekly instructional calls and coaching and daily support in Telegram. We literally build what I just described to you step by step together. I handhold you across the finish line and you learn it so that you can then go replicate it again at a later season. So our cohort won't open until September, which means you'll miss back to school for this if that's what you want to do. But you could launch ads for a fall campaign for Halloween, right? So for anything in that season, even leading up into like some of the later fall holidays or evergreen. So for leads on repeat, that's what it's called. There are only 8 spots available for the cohort, so I can keep it super high touch and supportive. And the wait list is open for if you hop on the wait list for the September cohort, I'm giving away exclusive coupons, discounts, bonuses, other incentives for people who join by that September cohort date only on the wait list. And after all that passes, if there are still spots available, I'll send them out to the public. So just so you know how it works. And I'll make sure you have the link for that as well for the wait list. Okay, Q&A time. What do we have? You can type in the chat or you can unmute, whatever is best for you.